Hey there, welcome to the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. My name is Cynthia. I'm your host, and I run Digital Bloom IQ, where I help health and wellness businesses get found in Google and heal more of the world. This is episode 205 of the podcast, and today I have a really excited episode for you with Taylor, my client of the Chicago Counseling Center. And I wanted to do a little bit of an interview talking to him about his experience working with me and some of the results he's gotten through our AIM process, through the AIM process that we've gone through together. And if you don't know about AIM, I'll just quickly run it through with you. But I just love featuring some of my clients because it's such an honor to work with every one of my clients, and Taylor and his team put in the work on the SEO end to get certain things done, to, follow through on my recommendations. And I feel like there is a lot of trust that happens in these projects. And I know it's not easy from the client end, especially when you don't know exactly what your SEO expert is doing, or it can just feel sometimes like there's a lot of moving parts. So this is just such a great interview. And before we dive into that, I'm going to share some of the specific traffic results that Taylor's gotten. So this is a little bit of an SEO case study as well. So before we do all of that, I do want to recommend a few other episodes that are also SEO case studies. So a few weeks ago, like I mentioned, I did episode 201, which is small business SEO results in 2021. And there I featured two clients who I didn't do the AIM process with them, but I have been working very closely with them and just sharing some of the results they've gotten. And it's really great. And then a while back, I did episode 139 with Cassie of Wosh Wellness. And I walked through some of the results she's gotten. She had fantastic results. She's a product-based business. She actually sells loose leaf teas. And that was really fun. And it was just great to hear from her. And then way back, episode 82, I talk with Vanessa of The Beauty Statement. And Vanessa is a fashion blogger. And she also kind of goes through and expresses her experience of working with me and just some of the results that she got. So those are some of the other episodes if you're interested in seeing what's possible for you when it comes to SEO. And it's a legitimate question, right? So we have limited amount of time, in our businesses, and we really want to make sure we're investing in the right next thing. And so I wanted to just show you guys kind of behind the curtain of what my clients experience, basically in their own words, as well as just the actual traffic and number results, the data results, which I like getting into as well. So before we talk about Taylor, I do want to really quickly just mention AIM. Basically stands for Assess, Implement, and Monitor, and it is my done for you service. You can get more information about that by going to my website, and going to digitalbloomiq.com/AIM, so AIM, and there you'll get the full spiel about AIM. It's currently a 12-month process, so it is a full-on thing, but I'm really passionate about it, and I'm really passionate about the results that my clients get through AIM, just like Taylor in this episode. All right, so let's talk about specifically what happened with Taylor and some of the results he experienced. So you're going to hear in this episode that he actually mentions that his counseling business is thriving. He's had to hire a few more counselors because of the work we've been doing. And he's basically, fully booked. And this was, we started working before the pandemic, when the whole therapy business and the counseling business changed because he no longer was able to take in-person visits. And we talk a little bit about how that's changed now, right? How the kind of industry has changed, which is interesting. But yeah, so I feel like it was an interesting time. Sorry, I keep saying interesting, but it was just like a great time to work with Taylor, and we were able to adapt and, focus on certain things on the website during this time, and help his business continue to grow and thrive at this time, right? So when we look specifically at his Search Console data from the time we started to the time we finished working, in the last 6 months of our work together, the clicks going to his website from Google grew by 15%, which is, it's a pretty nice growth. And impressions, so that's how many times the website actually showed up in the search results, grew by 93%, which is very, very exciting. So it's a very slow and steady progress, which is what I like to see with most of my clients. And it's very stable. So you'll see in the graph that I'm going to share on the blog that it's a very like little mountain that's going up and up over time. Now, I also look at the Google Analytics data. So I look both at the Search Console and Google Analytics because they give similar data points, but they're kind of different perspectives. So again, I did a 6 month comparison, but this time I did a 6 month over 6 month comparison. So overall, the website traffic grew by 20%, which is amazing. That's amazing. And the SEO traffic specifically grew by 15% in the last 3 months of working together, which, works kind of side by side with the Search Console data. So during our time together, Taylor's website had the highest monthly visits to the website since 2018. And so this shows just great progress in his SEO. So those are some of the traffic numbers. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of all the work we did. And there was just a lot of different things we worked on within the AIM process, which I'm not going to get into in this episode. Again, if you want to find out more about AIM, definitely check out that page. And I also want to make a super quick announcement before we dive into the episode with Taylor. So I've been just really playing around with how I can serve small businesses that aren't ready for maybe something like AIM, where you have an SEO expert coming on your team and interacting with your team and making changes, but you're still getting SEO consulting that's curated and customized to your needs. And so what I've decided to create and what I've been cooking up is a kind of SEO group program that combines both the SEO consulting that is customized to your business and website, as well as the benefits of a community and kind of a group experience. So stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to be fully announcing the name and everything. I've been just putting everything in place for you guys, but I'm just so excited to announce it. I can't wait because I know there's a lot of you out there who, you want to make these changes. You want to move forward and invest in this stuff, but maybe you don't want to learn it all for yourself. And then maybe you're not ready to hire someone on your team fully. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And I'm just so excited to talk to you guys about it. So if you want to be one of the first people who just get all the information, I highly recommend getting on my email list, which you can go to bit.ly/dbiq email. And there you can sign up. The cool thing is you also get first dibs on podcast episodes, behind the scenes. I share everything with my email list first because I'm just so grateful for them. And I love sending you guys emails. So definitely get on that if you want to hear about the announcement first. Again, you can go to bit.ly/dbiq email, or you can also go to my site, digitalbloomiq.com, and then there's a free SEO audit checklist. You can actually download that, and that will also add you to my email list. All right, my friends, I hope that you enjoy this conversation with Taylor. Hey, Taylor, how's it going?
Good, Cynthia. How are you?
I'm good. I'm super excited to be talking to you. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your business?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Taylor Newendorp. I am a licensed professional clinical counselor in Chicago, Illinois, in the States. I run a small but robust clinical counseling practice. We provide specialized therapeutic services for people struggling with obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, and depression. And we offer both in-person, in-office therapy sessions, as well as telehealth as well.
Yes, yes, I love what you guys do, and I've actually learned a lot about anxiety and OCD through working with you.
Mhm.
And I wanted to bring you on today because I'm just so proud of all the results that you've gotten through the AIM process, through working together, and I wanted to walk people through that experience of investing in this type of service because it's something that I know a lot of business owners, especially like therapists and psychologists, and you guys are super busy. You have a lot going on. Your website sometimes can be something that you don't always want to look at. It's just like there, but you don't really, and it's hard to create content. Um, and so I wanted to share your story. So let's start like before we got started. I can't remember exactly. I know must have been, it's over last year. It's been over a year, right?
Been
Um,
a little over a year now. Yeah.
yeah, crazy. So where were you at when you like first heard of like this whole process? What were you feeling? And like what were some of the things that were going through your head as you were like wondering whether, is this something I want to proceed with or, should I wait? That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. So, when it comes to like the actual website for my practice itself, it was something I had a web developer help me with years ago. I think before I reached out to you, it had probably been 5 or 6 years since that site was
Wow.
created. Um, and I didn't really kind of tend to it at all, kind of like you touched on. What I noticed time and time again, which you also mentioned, is I was short on a couple of things. I was really short on time, and I was just really short on knowledge. Like I'm not a tech person whatsoever. I have zero experience in marketing or anything along those lines. So what I noticed was in my field in particular, there were a lot of practices similar to mine that were growing pretty quickly, being able to expand services and help people in need. And they all had really clear websites that were kind of easy to navigate. And they were obviously doing something on the SEO marketing front that I just had no awareness of. So I had gotten to a point where my practice had primarily grown just through like word of mouth referrals and personal connections I had. But I knew in order to be able to help more people in my community, that I really had to focus on the SEO piece and kind of had a stronger web presence, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that I think that's a really natural progress, right? And it kind of depends on where you want to get your clients from, but you focus on clients who are close to you.
Mhm.
And having that website, it just helps those clients to find you, obviously, and to also just get to know you and to get to know your work, right? Because you do specialize in certain areas. Um, so that's great. So we decided to do AIM. You decided to take that step in that direction. And so what was that experience? So AIM right now, when Taylor started, it was a 10-month process. I actually now extended it to 12 months because I really feel like it takes time to do this stuff. And in order for it not to be overwhelming, sometimes it's kind of like growing a garden, it takes that time.
Mhm.
Um, so how was that process for you? How did it feel like to have someone kind of behind the scenes doing some things that you weren't aware of and then doing other things and collaborating with your team? How was that? How did that feel?
Well, the first word that comes to mind is relief. Like meeting you, and just first of all, your approach and your personality, the fact that you took time to meet with me like this, ask me a lot of really kind of in depth questions about the nature of the work we were doing, what I was hoping for, with SEO and all that sort of thing. I mean, honestly, Cynthia, like I could tell you cared truly, and that made a difference right off the bat. And then when you were able to outline the AIM process for me to see that you had like such a clear structure in place and you had goals um, from month to month. And within that, you were able to break down what I and my team and the practice would be responsible for as far as creating content for the website and all that sort of thing. Um, it gave me a sense of ease. I felt a lot of confidence moving forward because you clearly had a plan laid out, and we had a pretty clear idea for 10 months of what we were going to be working towards. And that just provided a lot of security. And like I said, relief. I found it pretty easy, pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Wow. That means so much. And, I've already thanked you, but I think thank you so much for being honest, because it's just it can be one of those things that I see owners just avoid. And so the fact that you felt like not only were the expectations clear, but it was also clear, what things I needed from you and your team. And so it felt like manageable, right? Like it felt, and I think there
Yes.
were tweaks in there, right? So we made
Mhm.
changes based on your availability. And, I just kind of worked with what you had available. And that was part of the process.
Yeah, and I appreciated that flexibility as well. You know, as you and I have discussed a couple of times, there were points where both personally and professionally, I had so many things going on. I was behind on some of the goals and deadlines we'd agreed to ahead of time. My staff was gradually getting busier as well. So there were times that that entire 10-month process did need to be adjusted. And I always appreciated that you were willing to do that with us as well.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be kind of a dance, because there's certain things I can do in the back end, but then there's certain things that your team can do in the front end or on their end. And so it's important for there to be a give or take there. And that's the big part of the AIM process, is it's very flexible. Like there's a structure, and I'm, pretty strict about that, but there's also flexibility within that structure so that we're getting things done. And I think the other really cool thing that came out of our work together is you actually switched to web developers, which was a big thing, right? And so tell me about that part of the process, because I know I could tell that was very stressful, like not having that web developer present on your team.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up as well. So when I reached out to you, I had also reached out to the web developer that initially had helped me set up the site, again, probably 6 years prior. And quite frankly, experienced some frustration there. Just communication was not clear. And it didn't seem like that particular web developer's ideas were really lining up with what you and I had in mind. So you were kind enough to give me a personal referral to another web developer. And to me, that was kind of a game changer. You were able to help me find someone who, again, like you, took the time to get to know me, to really understand what our business was about, what we were hoping for, as far as what the website could offer to potential clients and all that sort of thing. You were able to help me find somebody who was very clear and responsive when it came to communication. So that was just a huge added bonus in the process, truly.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm happy to do that. And that's actually a big part of my work. A lot of my clients, they don't even realize that this is a thing that's stressing them out until they start working with me. And then they're like, wow, like this web developer isn't responding or whatever. It's just not aligning. And I have actually, handpicked web developers over the years that I feel are really good web developers, not just technically, but communication style. They are responsive. They have packages that are, really high end, like good quality packages.
Mhm.
And so depending on the client, I recommend a web developer based on their needs. And you're not the first client to say this. That's why I'm pointing it out, because it's one thing to like go out and look for it's the kind of thing, it's like you don't know what you don't know.
Oh
And
yeah.
me as an SEO expert, I know what a good web developer looks like. Not just from the technical, like they make good coding changes and stuff, but they also are responding to emails. They are they're able to speak the client's language, and that it just has to work, right? Otherwise it's just you're not gonna be able to have a functional website. It's not gonna be a pleasant process.
Yeah, 100%. And along those lines, yeah, you're right. You don't know what you don't know. And what I've continued to appreciate is I will see messages, and you're kind enough to include me in it, between you and our developer. And it is just evidence to me that you guys are taking care of so many things behind the scenes that I just had no awareness of. And even that is comforting to see that the two of you continue to be invested in the work you're doing to help our site, to help with the search engine optimization, and it's really benefiting the business as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there is a distinction. Again, a lot of clients don't know this, but not all web developers know about search marketing.
Mhm.
And that's okay. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know, like the surgeon and the general practitioner, it's like there could be crossover in knowledge, but um at the end of the day, there might be certain things that I point out to the web developer that they're not aware of, not because they're not good web developers, but they don't have their eye on that thing. And so, yes, I have reached out to your web developer, pointing certain things out and asking for her help on things. And I've done this with other clients too, where it's like, I see something that could be better, and then we work on it, and the client, you're aware of that, but you don't have to be as involved. We take ownership of the website, right? Because that's not what you do. So how would you know what to fix, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, so to just wrap it up, so we went through the aim, we completed that cycle. So what changes did you see on your end, that you feel like impacted your business, and just like a result of the work we did?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing I'll say is, my staff and I, prior to our work with you, had tried to create some content for our site. And some of that would include blog entries, some of it would include trying to describe the types of services we were providing. But we were just kind of throwing stuff out there willy nilly, if you will.
Yeah.
And then with your guidance, we were able to understand how to just kind of slightly adjust some of the content in the blogs, and again, just kind of what is contained on the site itself. So we're really using keywords that are going to reach more of our target audiences and that sort of thing. So before, we didn't really have a plan, right? And then working with you, there was such clear guidance every step of the way. We started noticing pretty impressive results like relatively quickly. So if it helps, in the 10 months I was working with you throughout the AIM process, we noticed the amount of inquiries we would get for people interested in our services effectively triple, which
Wow.
is huge. So week over week, month over month, just the number of questions, the number of inquiries we would get from people who had read our content and found us that way, and then were reaching out for direct help. It was mind boggling. So also in that 10-month period, we went from a small staff of 4 therapists to now there's 7 of us. And the inquiries just keep coming, like truly. Like it's so encouraging to see that, because again, in my particular line of work, we're all about helping people. We want to help people kind of learn how to manage any stressors, anything that's going on for them, so they feel like they're achieving a higher quality of life. And so to know that, like, with your guidance, we're able to get more people in the door, if you will, and provide those direct services, it's been huge, truly. So I can't imagine that things would have grown as quickly as they had in that same period of time without your help.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I'm so happy. That makes me so happy. And yeah, I feel like there are so many people out there who turn to Google in the middle of the night, especially with mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and they just want some information. And then to know that, they could go further and work with someone on your staff. Um, it just, it really empowers people to take control and take hold of their mental health. And it is something that Google feels kind of private, right? Because it's your device, your computer, you can get that information. And I feel like your staff did a great job as well at, because it can be confusing. I know, like getting keywords, it's like, well, what does this mean? People are searching for this. And that's totally part of the process. Like part of the AIM process is me explaining, okay, so people are searching this, this is how we're going to speak about this, right? And I feel like your team has actually learned so much in that process. And I can tell, like looking at the blog post now versus from the beginning, they're really different. The structure is different, like, and it's great, right? So
Mhm.
that also makes me really happy because I think it gives, it makes it easier for your team to create content because they feel like they have that foundational knowledge almost, and they also continue to have my support, right? So they can ask me questions and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and to me again, that's where like the personal touch you put on everything makes all the difference. Like I know I'm the primary point person, and have been throughout this process, but the fact that you've had ongoing communication with each and every one of my staff members, I can tell you across the board, they feel 100% comfortable reaching out to you with any questions. It's just been really nice to see that kind of overall relationship develop.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. Okay. Thank you so much, Taylor. This means a lot. So I'd love you for you to share the website, and I'm sure people are curious to check it out. If you want to just share it now.
Yeah, sure. It's pretty straightforward. It is chicagocounselingcenter.com. So I'm realizing now when I first did my introduction, I probably didn't even mention the name of the practice. It is Chicago Counseling Center. The website is chicagocounselingcenter.com.
Perfect. No, no, that's totally fine. Well, thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you, Cynthia.